So time to dive back into the newspapers again. This morning we're joined by political correspondent for The Independent, Millie Cook, and the author and broadcaster, Emma Wolfe. So welcome to both of you once again. We're going to kick off, we're going inside the papers really this hour, aren't we? But some of the same themes reflected inside us on the front pages, and the pressure on Keir Starmer and all the shenanigans and wranglings amongst possible challengers to him being talked about on front pages and inside. The Express is quoting Sir John Major. What's he saying about it all?
Yeah, so Sir John Major is warning against this sort of prime ministerial churn, so swapping prime ministers all the time. So he's saying we're doing that too much and it's not good for the country. And it sort of comes alongside an awful lot of headlines from, as we were talking about earlier, people like Wes Streeting, Angela Rayner, Andy Burnham, talking about those possible challenges to Keir Starmer. And all the papers at the moment have various briefings saying that each leadership sort of rival has enough momentum to kind of take over from Keir Starmer. And that's amid sort of wider pressure on him and questions over the direction of the government, and real concern about whether or not Labour is actually delivering on that mandate it was given when it won the election. But I think this is an interesting warning because it does speak to a lot of those fears that people sort of saw after the Tories when we had an awful lot of prime ministers. We ripped through them over the course of a couple of years. And now we're at the stage where people don't really want to see that again. So it's this fine balance between, do we maintain the stability of just having one prime minister, or actually is that doing more harm than good? Because we're not actually getting that stability. It's been extremely turbulent. There's been a lot of chaos. And I think that there's also a world in which continuing with the same Prime Minister might do more harm than good.
Yeah, I think Millie's absolutely right. You know, do you continue with the wrong person if they are literally the wrong person? But also, you know, Sir John Major's certainly the person Conservatives certainly know about, you know, replacing Prime Ministers, and they have a much easier process and mechanism for doing that, and they do churn through them. But also, and he's right about, you know, game show politics. These are serious times. There's a lot of serious things going on, and we need serious people. I'm not sure that the contenders at the moment are necessarily the most serious people, but we live in this era of social media where WhatsApps and messages and text messages can be flying around the whole time, where, you know, meetings, and where news needs to be constantly, which is obviously right at Sky News, but news is constantly updated, headlines need to be constantly fresh and new. Whereas in past times, you know, there might have been meetings behind closed doors. I suppose we're in a much more, you know, always-on sort of era. So all of this speculation and possible contenders and rivals and campaigns are going to be a lot more fraught.
And social media allows those contenders to put themselves out there in their own way and shape their own narrative and make their own pitch directly to the public as well, can't they? So these are different times as well. I mean, the question, I guess, Millie, is whether or not a new leader could change the fortunes of the party as a whole. And that's a moot question. And if there is one of them, which one is it?
It's a really good question, and I think it's a very difficult one to answer. I think with Labour, I think the position that a lot of people are getting to is they're not 100% sure if a new leader could change the fortunes of the party, but the party's in such a difficult position that it doesn't feel like so much of a gamble anymore. I think about 6 months ago, it was much more to weigh up, I think, because there was a chance that Starmer could turn it around. And obviously there's still a chance now, but I think as time goes on, it's looking less and less likely that we're going to see... He's had so many attempts at a reset. None of them have been successful at all. And I think that now it feels like less of a gamble because they're at such a low point. I think that there are lots of people concerned that Angela Rayner could be too left-wing for the rest of the country. She might get on better with MPs. Wes Streeting, he could just be more of the same because he's fairly similar to Starmer in that he's a bit of a pragmatist. And Andy Burnham, a lot of people aren't even sure if he's able to make his way back into Westminster because he's famously not an MP.
One article this morning, the front page of The Guardian, suggesting that he's got it all lined up. He's found people that are prepared to offer up their seats to him, potentially.
And this almost plays to Starmer's advantage in a way that there isn't one clear out-and-out contender. It almost keeps him in position for now because they're all thinking, well, do I go first? Is it a risk? You know, the one who wields the sword that never wears the crown, and all of that. So there's peril for all three of the leading contenders at the moment. Which at the moment keeps Starmer where he is.
Does indeed. All right, let's move on. Intervention there from John Major to some other stories. We're complaining about the bank holiday weather, and they've got a write-up about it in there. On the drive in today, I was thinking about this. I wonder if they've done statistics on how often a bank holiday is actually
wet
in May.
It does seem that when we're all looking forward to a break, to a holiday, the weather doesn't always play ball. I think maybe it's that way around.
Yeah.
But I chose this because of the headline. After Friday, which was yesterday, I hope you all wore sunscreen. After Friday, here comes a bank holiday of showers.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, I mean, you know, it's a bank holiday, therefore it is going to rain. What really struck me about this was yesterday's temperatures, down in the south at least, which is where we are, was 10 degrees higher than where we would normally be on the 1st of May. It really was incredibly hot.
We were saying yesterday hotter than Athens and Hawaii. It was
yes, we
predicted
did.
to be
It's
that.
always going to be
turned out
hotter than
that.
hotter than Barbados, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, things are going to cool down. They're not... They say they're going to collapse. Temperatures are going to collapse back to early May averages.
Yeah.
It's not really a collapse,
no.
but I think we're going to see a gradual shift back to maybe less barbecue weather, less Hawaiian shirt. I saw quite a few Hawaiian shirts out and about yesterday. Is that a male thing? Like, you get a hot day and you put on your short-sleeved Hawaiian shirt?
I'm just glad they had their shirts on. I saw lots of shirts off, tops off. So the sun comes out, tops come off to some people.
The Hawaiian shirt or no shirt?
I think I'd stick with a Hawaiian
shirt. Right, let's move on to this one in The Guardian. This is a fascinating story. Take us through the reporting on this one, really, about a guy, filmmaker, who had his Oscar lost by an airline.
Yeah, this is a really interesting story. So it's the director of Mr. Nobody Against Putin, so sort of about Russian propaganda. And he tried to take his Oscar on a flight, but they thought it was a safety risk if he had it in his hand luggage, because obviously they're quite heavy, not that I've ever held one. And
one day.
Yeah, maybe one day. And I think he checked it in, and then it went missing.
He was told he couldn't. Yeah, he was told by security at the airport that it could be used as a weapon, so they had to take it off him. And I think the airline was very helpful, and they said, "Oh, well, we'll have someone to walk him to the plane and all the rest of it." And they said, "No, it's got to go in the hold," and that's where the problem started, I think.
Yeah.
I think it was one TSA official who decided that it was too heavy a thing, despite him having flown around the States.
3.9 kilos.
I mean, it's a pretty chunky thing, but he'd been flying around the States with it before, so it seems, from the reporting at least, that it was just this one official who was like, no.
Using an Oscar as a weapon is an insane choice. I mean,
So do they get to
identify him pretty quickly?
Do they get to keep Oscars forever and ever, or do you have it for you keep them forever, and they just keep churning them out?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Anyway, he's got it back, hasn't he?
He has.
Yeah, safely in our care, says airline.
Yeah.
Do you want to do to next one? Oh, I want to get to this one, so let's make sure we get to this. But we want to do.
Well, we're going to get to our fish and chips and what's actually in a moment.
Sorry.
But before that, let's just talk about the King, because he is in Bermuda at the moment, but his trip to the US is being reflected on, and he's getting pretty good write-ups.
Very good. I mean, this was a very patriotic story in The Sun today about Charles not only renewing and reaffirming the special relationship, basically saving the royal family, according to them. No, they're talking about how the King really put on a great show, obviously won over Donald Trump, who adores Britain. He won over the White House, he won over Congress, he won over the US media. The royals have had a tough time of it in the US, not only with the awful, the Jeffrey Epstein and the Andrew Mountbatten Windsor kind of scandal, which reflects on the royal family, but also the Harry and Meghan stuff and the Netflix shows that haven't been entirely successful over there. And they're talking about this as, a reset for the royal family, and Donald Trump's reverence, and also the genuine warmth between Charles and Camilla and Donald Trump and Melania, and the way the two couples really did seem to genuinely enjoy each other's company. I think that Charles and Camilla talked about leaving a bit of their heart in the States.
Yeah, and I guess it's not a great surprise that the rapport between them was good. I mean, King Charles is very good at chatting to lots of people. That's his job, isn't it? But I guess the question was whether or not he could help ease relations with Keir Starmer and Donald Trump, and the jury seems to be out on that.
Yeah, I think Downing Street certainly saw King Charles's visit to the US and the monarchy generally as sort of a secret weapon when it comes to dealing with the US. Like we saw a while ago, that letter that was handed to Donald Trump inviting him for a historic second state visit to the UK. So I think that Starmer and Downing Street more broadly were definitely kind of hoping, they were pinning their hopes on this visit. And I think it has done as good of a job as it could have done. However, those relations between Trump and Starmer are extremely difficult. And I think we're unlikely to see, as long as Starmer continues to maintain his position on Iran, which I think he's very likely to do, we're unlikely to see an immediate thawing. I think that it is good for the UK when you see Trump speaking a bit more kindly about Britain. But I don't necessarily think that while Starmer maintains his position on Iran, we're going to see a sort of back to their original good relationship.
Yeah. All right, go on, let's move on.
Fish and chips now.
Let's do it. It's making me hungry, actually, this time in the morning for fish and chips. But this reporting here suggests that some chippies are smuggling in catfish.
Catfish.
Rather than cod and haddock.
OK, let me just first say, catfish are safe to eat.
Oh, yeah.
Around Liverpool and Manchester, these rogue takeaways who can buy catfish a lot cheaper. Yeah. They can buy catfish for around £3.40 wholesale instead of £15 for cod or haddock. Up to 3 in 10 local takeaways up north have been serving people catfish. Have you ever seen a real life, a fully grown catfish?
No, only in telly with the things. They're massive, aren't they? Yeah, they're big off.
They're absolutely huge, bigger than a grown man. They can weigh up to, I don't know, they are massive. They are massive. They're black, they're very, very frightening.
You're not getting those in your fish and chips, though, the
How
massive
many
ones.
fish and chips can you get out of one catfish?
Exactly.
Exactly. I would imagine you get quite a lot of so-called fake cod or haddock.
Yeah, and maybe
I wonder
people
what it tastes like.
Be happy to eat it if they knew what it was. I think the question is if they're thinking they're eating cod.
Selling it, and also if you're paying for a cod, I guess it's so much cheaper than if you're paying for one thing and you're getting another. Then I guess that's the sort of.
So if they offer you river cobbler, say no thanks. I'll go with the cod.
I mean, I might try it. Yeah, exactly. You'd eat it, wouldn't you? Of course, yeah. Fish.
I eat fish.
You do fish.
Anyway, now you all know. I eat fish. Anyway, we have got one other story here, which I've only seen the headline. Is it a sad story? But poisoned swans.
Because they're eating bread that's being. I mean, when we were little, we did go and feed the birds with old bread, and that's
rules are
something
much stricter
now
about ducks. Yeah. You can't feed the ducks bread. And
so, talk us through the details of this, Lily.
So it's effectively they're calling it people fly tipping. So shopkeepers putting mouldy bread into rivers and lakes, and swans are eating them. And then they're turning this pink colour because of a fungus, and the pink makes their wings sort of more brittle and less waterproof, so it's really not good for their health. I think there's quite a jarring stat in here that says that nearly a third of the birds on the Thames near Reading show signs of pink feather syndrome. So it's quite a lot, and I think that it's exactly what you said about how when you were younger you used to feed birds sort of old bread. I think everyone sort of thought that when I was growing up, certainly it was like quite a normal thing to take bread to the pond and
not wasteful, exactly.
But I think there's probably not enough wider commentary on why it's a bad thing to do. Like I don't think people know necessarily that.
It's not good for them to be eating old mouldy bread.
And also, even if it's not mouldy, the bread does it not swell in their stomach?
For them anyway. Yeah.
In the lakes and sort of ponds near us, in parks around London, they sell little packets of seed that you buy instead. So you can still feed them. You can still give them treats, like which little kids like to do.
For the kids, they love it.
But not the old bread.
No.
Which used to be fun, didn't it?
Go there on a Sunday, throw away the old Hovis or whatever bread brand it was on that particular day. Exactly.
Good stuff. Well, that's educational way to finish, but important for all of us to know.
Exactly.
Really lovely to have your company, both of you, this morning. Millie and Emma, thanks both very much indeed. We've just got